Hello, it's Makerspace today for January 23rd, 2015. Hey, got this camera working last night. Let me see, what did I do to it? Went on the under the app manager on the Android and I deleted all the cache files, and that didn't fix it. So I deleted the app and downloaded it again, and the camera started working. So I'm back in business, which is good. I'll explain why in a minute. I started the morning by going over to Finding Doug, who helped with the 501c3 application. There were some problems I found, and I needed some clarifications on that. And he helped me finish that up. Then I went to the Makerspace and talked to Ross about making a framework for a project I'm working on, and also this other project I need some fabrication done on. I needed a heat sink attached to my circuit board, which of course I don't have here. It's in the truck. So we talked a little bit about that, and I went into too much detail, and Ross said, just tell me what you want. I don't need all the details. So got out of his hair and he went back to work. Then I went over to where I used to work, Brightleaf, and I got back a power supply. I had loaned them a 36, so that's 30 volts at 6 amps. And I needed that back for this test I'm working on, so I got that. That was on the north side of town. The 501c3 was on the south side of town, so I drove all the way north. Then I drove all the way back south to pick up a check from the MEDC, which is the Montrose Economic Development Corporation. And I got down there just after they went to lunch, so I had to wait around, and I figured I better grab lunch. And got a quick lunch, and then I went over to talk to Melanie, who's worked for nonprofits before, and she went over the application and found even more errors. So there's, well, I don't want to say errors, but problems with it. So I now had about 5 more things I had to correct. So kind of getting discouraged. It's 1 o'clock. Well, now it's 2 o'clock. So I drove back. Let me see, what did I write here? Yeah, I went through that, and then I went back down to MEDC. They're open now. I got the check. Then I went by the Alpine Bank and deposited that, and that was a big deal. And while I was there, Allison asked if I would give a tour to the Alpine Bank regional manager. He's coming into town on that next Thursday, so we're going to go ahead and do that, and because they're our banker. And we want to let him know, as well as anybody else, about the Makerspace here in Montrose. So then I went back over to the other office of Brightleaf and talked to Jeff, and called him earlier in the day, and I said, hey, do you have any heat sinks that I could buy from you guys? So he found 2. He found like a traditional extruded aluminum one. This one's pretty nice. And then he found this thing here, and I look at this bad boy. So this is this is a heat pipe design. So you mount your parts here, and then the heat goes up these heat bars and goes through this, travels around these copper tubes. So this is a monster. From there, what did I write here? It would help if I really need to get that printer going so I don't have to squint to see my own writing. I drove back to the north side of town, and Doug and I made the changes to the 501c3 application. I took about 15 minutes to make sure I had all the copies and the originals in the right order and all that kind of stuff, and I stuck it all in an envelope. And then I got a call on the phone, and the way we got Google Voice set up right now is I told you before that you can't have 2 Google Voice numbers go into the same phone, the same cell phone. So I have our Google Voice number for the Makerspace sent to my home phone, and that home phone is forwarded to my cell phone. And that whole thing takes a little bit too long, and Google Voice doesn't really like those hops along the way. So whenever I go to grab it off my cell phone, it immediately hangs up. So that's not going to work. and here's a good reason why. So, of course, I don't have my email. Let me pull it up here. The I talked to a guy named Bob, and Bob lives over in Snowmass, which is a town, well, I don't need to tell you where Snowmass is. And so he says, hey, I read about your makerspace. I went online, and it sounds too good to be true. And so I talked to him a little bit more, and we talked a little about the makerspace in terms of the prototyping side for the makers, and then you want to move into production. That's 8 to 3 in the morning. And he wrote me this thing after that conversation. Where is his mail? Here he goes. He says, thank you for your time to explain the makerspace today. I'm currently at Snowmass and considering relocating to Montrose to start a new business requiring light machining and manufacturing. Please pencil me in for a Tuesday tour. I will also attend your Wednesday morning meeting next week with my son, who owns Megapixel Digital Imaging, which is here in Montrose. I look forward to learning more about your services and your membership opportunities. Woohoo! We have people moving to town now because the makerspace exists. Now, keep in mind, we're not open yet. So it was that was exciting. That happened around 5 o'clock. Then I went over to talk to Morgan, who runs Highland Cycles, and I listened to Morgan's vision. He has a really big vision. I've talked about Morgan before. I told him that the iPhone, not the iPhone developer that I thought I was able to talk into doing work on this project with us, is really busy, and he can't help us out. He did do some research into the maturity of the SDK that's offered by this company, and he said it looks pretty good. It's been pretty stable for 9 months, so that was good that he did that. Now we're looking for a iOS developer. So if you know anybody locally, just let us know, because we're looking for someone locally. And the app we want to do is very simple. We talked about long-term things and his vision, and how much he actually wanted me to tell in my presentations as well as here. So I'm not going to tell you what we're doing yet there until we get a little further along. But he understands his industry, and he understands that his idea can change his industry, and it's a very large industry around the world. Now it took me to 6:30, and I've been going since 8 now. I went by and I wrote check number 2. Check number 1 from our bank account was the IRS non-profit filing, 501c3 application. Check number 2 was for Susan, our executive director. Gave her a little money of the MEDC, and then I paid for the rent on the space. And Ross, who owns the space over there, brought a very big smile to his face. And then when I told him about Bob calling on the phone, potentially moving here, only because a makerspace existed, it really kind of set like a great tone for the week. So I got home and I forwarded Bob's email to all the people that have been involved in the makerspace so far, all the economic development people, all the supporters, all the board, everything, to let them know that we're pulling in companies now, and it's working great. After dinner, I checked out and I saw that Dixon was online. Dixon is the executive director of the Tinker Mill, and asked. I was on Google Chat. I asked him did he find anything about this safety stuff. He said that he did. So he gave me a call, and I could hear music in the background. And he said, "Yeah, the band's here. The band comes every other Friday." Just like I've been telling people in the tours, the bands do come into the Tinker Mill every other Friday. So over the band, he was. We had a very long discussion about the safety. Well, the safety stuff was very short. I don't need to tell you what he said, but they're going to make some changes over there on their protocols. Let's see, what else did he say? Oh, we talked about the entrepreneur ecosystem development activities going on over there, and maybe there's some tie between the Western Slope as well as what's happening at the Tinkermill, because we're doing the exact same thing that Scott and Dixon are doing over there. We're Kern and I are doing the exact same thing over here. So there's a like a 100% synergy there, and we're not competing with each other on anything. In fact, we want to share our resources because we got a rockin' makerspace that has manufacturing capabilities inherently built into it. And then I walked the dogs, and I came back, and I started playing with adding a quiz plug-in to WordPress. I evaluated a few of them and added and decided on one, and it's called W Pro Quiz. It's going to let us take the basic operation and safety courses and add a bunch of questions in there, and it's going to in order for you to pass that safety class, you're going to have to answer all the questions correctly until you pass. And then from our perspective, we're going to log the fact that you took the test and passed the test and when you passed it, so that we have a record of that. And then that's going to get tied into our safety system that we're currently working on over there. So it was a very busy day. What is it? I've been at it for, I don't know, 15 hours. And I'm really tired. You can probably tell because, I'm a mess. It's time to go to bed. This is Makerspace Today for January 23rd, 2015.